Need a colorful, easy, impossible to mess up, relaxing, creative self-care art making exercise? Nora and I have got you covered. Grab your watercolors and join us for this week's Better with Art. This week we are revisiting one of my favorite projects from the 52-week art journal journey. As mentioned, it's impossible to mess up. It's as colorful as you want to be, relaxing and therapeutic. It's a different type of watercolor blob, ideal for getting lost in the process and finding that desired state of flow where all the other things fade away, including those annoying, awful, frustrating, spinning thoughts that sometimes you feel like you just can't ignore, quiet, get away from. As I always say about anything that is bothersome or hard for us or makes us feel less than we are, art helps. And what could be better for creative self-care art than art you totally cannot mess up? This week's art was inspired by Lacey Walker, Rebel Unicorn Crafts on Instagram. She was inspired by rubber bands. It's part of a series she was doing on little art projects, I believe in her sketchbook, which would be equivalent to our art journals, of art that was inspired by things around her home. And in introducing, so to speak, another artist, I realize I failed this week so far to introduce myself to anyone who is new here. I'm Melinda, and I'm here to encourage you to reclaim your creativity and practice creative self-care with weekly small art prompts that can be done in an art journal or on paper if you don't have one. Since I first launched the 52-week art journal journey on New Year's Day in 2023, I have been recommending the same art journal, which you can see Nora and I using here. Unfortunately, it is no longer available. So I have been buying and trying out new alternatives to seek a new best value with paper that is heavy enough and smooth enough without being too smooth to handle all of the wet, dry, and layered media that is part of my simple form of art journaling. If it is not yet time for you to invest in an art journal and you're working on paper, projects like today's that involve watercolor would be best suited to cardstock. And I always recommend, if you're going to work on loose sheets, to have a folder or another way to keep your Better with Art art as private as you want it to be. Because one of the benefits of an art journal is the freedom to express ourselves and experiment without fear of what others will think. So if one of the reasons that you aren't regularly making art is because you don't think you're an artist or you don't think your art is good enough, Better with Art is perfect for you. Better with Art is about the process. It's the making of the art. It's the making of art for the sake of making art. How it looks is of secondary importance to how it makes us feel. It doesn't ultimately matter what it looks like. Although it can feel really awesome to end up with something you love, the value is in the process and how the process helps us be more fully who we are. When we find that state of flow where all the other things quiet and we stop thinking so hard about those things we're thinking so hard about, sometimes solutions present themselves to our mind that isn't so hard looking for them in one direction and missing them in another. Art is also healing. We are wired for creativity, made in the image of the Creator. And when we aren't taking time to express and exercise our creativity in ways we find meaningful and enjoy, we can't be as healthy as we could. I am living proof of the positive impact art making can have on mental health. And many of us have anecdotal evidence of that. We know how much better we feel when we are making things. Science is catching up to that fact. And I've been talking about that a bit more in this year's video. One that immediately comes to mind is the episode on doodling. If you missed that one and would like to learn more about how the simple act of doodling really helps our brains, I will link to it in the description. And I should really talk about this week's art, which was also the art for week, I think maybe 45 of the 52-week art journal journey. Think rubber bands tossed on a tabletop or jumbled in a junk drawer. Colorful, curvy, twisty rubber bands. Also maybe at least slightly translucent. A shape that's easier to show than tell. And I hope you have been enjoying Nora and my painting of our blobby outlines. You are in control of how many you'd like to keep their own pristine color and how many of them you would like to allow to blend together simply by choosing whether or not to overlap them when they're wet. I'm not using my typical watercolors in this video, which started out the Crayola Basic 8 and has become the Prang Basic 8, but I was also trying out other inexpensive options. This particular one was from a local, not just a dollar store. Use what you have. I'll link to the set I typically use in the description, as well as journal options I'm checking out. A link to sign up to invite me into your inbox no more than once a week. Email is definitely something I'm not keeping up with, but also receive a link to join the Better with Art online community in our private Facebook group, as well as a link to sign up to be notified of upcoming in-person and online workshops. I am very excited to be back participating in the 100-Day Project. This year's launched last Sunday. I got started a little bit late, but did post a long video with the papers I had done so far and am working on the next. It was a bit of motivation and encouragement I needed again with where things are in my life and my art business and all of it. And if you've been around a while, you know that the 100-Day Project of 2022 is when I got back to a regular art making practice. I needed something to help me give myself permission to make art every day, to get me out of the false belief that there were too many more important things to do than take time to make art. Art is incredibly important to our mental health, and our mental health is pretty important. I hope Nora's and my fun, colorful blobs are inspiring you to want to make some art this week, and that maybe Better with Art could be your inspiration, permission, encouragement to establish or reestablish a healthy, regular art making practice. I share one prompt each week that can be done in a few minutes if that's all you have, or you can extend the enjoyment if you have longer. Projects are meant to also be able to stop and start as you have time. If you have 2 minutes today to lay down a few blobs, and you can come back in a few days and take another few minutes, everything I share now should also be able to be done that way. Because I get it. It's not easy to find time, make time, take time for something, even something as important as art making, because it's difficult to accept or remember or believe that it is that important. And even if you know that it's important, it can still be difficult to make choices, to make those healthy habits. I know this. And if you are not ready to make art every day, which is what the 100-Day Project is, the 100-Day Project is the commitment to make some type of art every day for 100 days along some type of theme that is totally up to you. It can be something very precise, or it can be something kind of vague. My original 100-Day Project was creating my own first art journal. I didn't really know what an art journal was, but that's okay because an art journal is whatever you want it to be, as long as it's a journal and it has art. When I say I made my first ever art journal, I mean I literally made it. I stitched each signature together and put them together. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and it was just what I needed at that point in my life. The 100-day project typically starts in February. Last February, in February of 2024, I came back to the 100-day project with my 100 collage papers, which are all here on YouTube. I did not plan to be doing the 100-day project again this year, but like I said, I am in a place mentally and emotionally where it's what I need right now. My theme this year is 100 days of mixed media fun. I started out again this year with tissue paper collage paper, and it has been a lot of fun experimenting with new techniques. I would love to have you join me during the week for that, and stick with me here on weekends, whatever works to inspire you to be making art. If you're feeling inspired, give me a thumbs up, and a comment would be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe and share with anyone else who needs to be reminded that taking time to make art is not a waste of time. You don't need a lot of time to practice creative self-care, and it doesn't need to cost a lot of money to reclaim your creativity.